This episode is completely sponsored by a company called FunTrain. They're VR creators. They previously dropped games like Tarzan. I'm really happy these guys reached out. I'm really happy they're here to support my channel, and I'm going to talk about this new game of theirs. Jungle Man is a deceptively cool title that takes very little and makes a lot with it. Making use of the room scan and AR capabilities, it does only a couple things, but what it does pretty well. Now, my typical gripe with AR games, as you know, is not so much with the developers, but more with meta and the restrictions they have on AR room scans. In the past, I'm on the record having said, it sucks that a game can be so good and so engaging and have so many anchors on the wall to make something that you really want to interact with. But at the end of the day, the room scan just can't take a couch and actually plot out a couch. It's a cube. It really wants to boil that down to something simplistic, just for the bandwidth and data limitations of the Quest headset. But I'm happy to say that most of this game works really well despite that. In this game, you can set up multiple portals. One on the wall over here, you can pick one over here, and as soon as you hit play, vines drop down from the ceiling that are like auto-populated and auto-generated, so it's different every time. You have clusters of rock that rise up from the ground, and then floating around the room you have various fruits that you could grab and feed to this main character, and it might make him jump higher. It increases his energy, and in the end, all this game is the character, Jungle Man. Not Jungle Boy, not Tarzan. They previously did Tarzan, as I mentioned. I find it interesting that this character is so clearly inspired by Tarzan, but they go out of their way not to say that. And so all I can imagine is that when they were making Tarzan, which is not a game like this at all, I think that in the process they decided that they had so many cool ideas that they wanted to expand upon, but the limitations of that first person view probably prevented them from putting a lot of that into effect, and they didn't want to confuse the genre, the IP, and so they just got to work on those ideas and didn't want to call it like Tarzan, this other game that's a completely separate thing. That's my guess. That's what I think. But regardless, you have the Jungle Man, and he comes out of that central portal, and you got to get him to the other side of the room. And by doing that, you simply step up behind the vine and pinch it and pull back, and kind of like Angry Birds, where you'd pull and maneuver and let go and fire him. And your goal is to get him onto another vine, and eventually get him to that secondary portal. And in the process, there's all kinds of predators and bees and all kinds of stuff that you are able to swat out of the way to kind of clear a path. Between waterfalls and these rock formations, there's a lot that you have to avoid. And I'll be quick to say that this game it's not for me necessarily, but my kids had a blast in it. They really enjoyed it. All these characters, whether it's the bee or the toucan sitting here in the middle of the room, my son just had a blast hitting it on the nose because he's cruel, I guess. But the reaction got a huge thing out of him, and then he had a good time. I've played through up to about 15 different levels on this, and sure enough, every level is auto-generated. Everything is different every time, but it seems like it increasingly gets a little more complicated and crowded and more things for you to get around in order to complete a level. And every time you do, there's all these different things that you can go out of your way to grab in the room that kind of auto-populate, and you get coins for that, and then you can take your earnings and upgrade his outfit. And they do offer a store where you can buy that stuff, but I'm very glad to see that it's not something they just dropped right in front of you. I'm very happy to see that, because I don't have an issue with paid upgrades in a game, so long as it's not pay to win, and this is not. Seems like those upgrades are more for just you get into the game and you want to get those upgrades, you want to make your character more resilient and more entertaining, and you're able to do that. And I was able to do that without spending a penny. Now, I expect this is going to release pretty soon, but right now it's still on the wish list. It's not officially out yet, and as a result, I can't tell you what it costs. If it's free to play, I have no idea, but I know that if you go down there and use the link down below, you'll be able to wish list it and give these guys a bump. They came to little old me for a little bit of content creation. It would mean as much to me as it would them if you checked it out. Now they wanted me to specify and say this is early access, obviously. This is kind of a beta run. It's very close to what is going to be released, but I shouldn't be surprised if a couple changes happen between now and launch. Those changes are meant to be related to any glitches or bugs I come across, but I really haven't found any. The most I can say is that if I fail to get the guy to grab successfully onto a vine and he falls, which is one of the best parts, is just being eaten alive from the floor, there is a delay longer than I would expect. But I also think that might be one of the things they're going to be working out. So check it out. Click that link down below. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you to these guys again for sponsoring this episode. Thank you to you for being here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps my channel a lot. In addition to this game, you'll find my website down below where we've got nearly every single MetaQuest game available, all with 10% off, sometimes 20 depending on the time of the year. And again, it's a great way of supporting my channel. The game is fairly polished. It doesn't seem to ask a lot of you, but what it does well. And again, seems to be more for my kids, the younger crowd, but they're too afraid to jump into Half-Life Alyx, so it's just as well. You guys have been watching Bringhurst VR. Godspeed.